Let's get ready to rumble! But we need to check our call sheet first. Wrestling has been a cornerstone of entertainment since the Roman Empire, and pro wrestling as we know it today has its roots in vaudeville. For all its physical feats, it's certainly more Shakespearean than Olympian, and has more in common with stunt direction than it does UFC. As we've yet to get that funky little Steve Rogers serum into the hands of Vince McMahon, it makes perfect sense that these talented people with breakable bodies would move into film and television. More than anyone else, John Cena defines modern professional wrestling in the public eye. A multi-title, multi-time champion in WWE, Cena also holds Make-A-Wish Foundation's top spot for most wishes granted. It's safe to say that Cena's legacy is solidified. But the man loves a task and is setting himself up to climb the Hollywood ladder. His first role was in 2006's The Marine, a film produced by WWE's film studio, and of course he's lent his voice acting to the Flintstones and Scooby-Doo crossovers with WWE over the years. But it was in 2015's Trainwreck, the raunchy rom-com starring Amy Schumer and Bill Hader, that first garnered praise for his acting abilities, specifically his comedic timing. He's one of the stars of the soon-to-be-released The Suicide Squad and F9, the latest in the Fast and Furious franchise, and did voice acting as recently as 2020's Doolittle. It's safe to say that Hollywood is keeping John Cena busy. Pretty soon he won't even have enough time to brush your mouth like Colgate. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has come a long way from his early days as Rocky Maivia. His first gimmick honored both his father and grandfather, paying homage as a third-generation wrestler. His smack talk skills and undeniable charisma, even when crowds hated him, soon propelled him to stardom, and he switched to the simple but powerful moniker of The Rock. A side role in 2001's The Mummy Returns, playing the Scorpion King, a king so scorpion that he doesn't even get a name, landed The Rock his first leading role. The spin-off The Scorpion King was released in 2002. Over the years, he's bounced from typical big guy military joints like Walking Tall and G.I. Joe Retaliation to more comedic roles like Baywatch and Central Intelligence. But he's also found footing in family adventures like the Jumanji franchise, and of course the appeals to everyone at least a little, oh come on, admit it franchise, Fast and Furious. Upcoming films for Johnson include Disney's Jungle Cruise, DC's Black Adam, and we wouldn't be surprised to see him in more Fast and Furious joints after the success of 2019's Hobbs and Shaw. Dwayne Johnson has certainly solidified a legacy of his own. WWE's most recent Backlash pay-per-view was sponsored by Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead, and the show opened with the film's star and former pro wrestler Dave Bautista promoting it in a promo package. Truly a man embodying both pro wrestling and genre film. Although, for what it's worth, he claims he had nothing to do with the zombie-infested lumberjack match that capped the night. Known to pro wrestling fans simply as Bautista, he had some small acting parts in TV shows like Smallville and Chuck, but traded the locker room for Tinseltown to film Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy in 2014. Now, Guardians of the Galaxy was a commercial and critical success, and his performance as Drax earned him high praise. We'll see old Dave soon in Dune, and he's confirmed as a cast member for a handful of films in pre-production, including another Guardians of the Galaxy and Knives Out 2. He's not saying bye Tista anytime soon. At the peak of the Attitude Era, no one said more so or beat up more boss than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, while I'd say that the transition from the Stunning Steve gimmick to Austin 316 is his greatest, his transition from toughest SOB in WWE to actor ain't nothing to suck your teeth at. Austin's acting career started with voicing himself for MTV's strange claymation classic Celebrity Deathmatch. From 2005's The Longest Yard remake through the mid-2010s, he was in a variety of films exploring the nooks and crannies of the action genre, including the star-studded The Expendables. Since 2015, the Rattlesnake has stuck primarily to hosting shows for cable television and running his own successful podcast. But on most greatest match ever lists, you'll find at least one of the incredible cornerstone beatdowns in Austin's feud with The Rock. It's all too easy to imagine a world where The Rock didn't find himself on the spiritual wrestling Mount Rushmore without that feud, and so in a way, his influence continues. Now everybody say, thank you, Steve. Before pro wrestling had a hold on mainstream culture, Roddy Piper worked his way through a whole lot of acting gigs. As a wrestler, he understood that in-ring psychology and carrying the attitude of your promo into your next sleeper hold went a lot further than adding sweet flips or dangerous spots to your moveset. Which is to say, the man had great acting instincts. He was the best part of a lot of bizarre productions. He fought mutant frogs in Hell Comes to Frogtown, buddy-copped with the inventor of Tybo in Back in Action, and takes on the titular character in a voice acting role for 2011's Green Lantern Emerald Knights. But They Live remains the standout. 1988's They Live is a film staple and is both arguably an indulgent B-movie and an important cultural examination of the Reagan era. Piper's incredible line read of "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum" has been referenced in everything from the IT Crowd to Rick and Morty. Diesel, Big Sexy, Big Daddy Cool, call him what you like. Up next is Kevin Nash. He's a great one to trot out for trivia nights. Nash is the stunt performer under all that armor for Shredder in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze. Now, while he might not be taking roles as big or as pop culturally impactful as his wrestling brethren on the list thus far, he still takes side parts regularly in the action and horror genre and has had some pretty iconic bit parts. He's the only lackey at the Red Circle that John Wick takes effort to spare, meaning theoretically, and only theoretically as of now, he could return to the franchise as sympathetic bouncer Francis. He also portrayed dancer Tarzan in the Magic Mike series, a tender-hearted veteran who's bound to have a lot of backstory left in him. Edge debuted in WWE as a tortured soul in a big coat and was shortly after revealed to be a vampire. With that heavy of a starter gimmick and his cover of a romance novel head of hair, it's no wonder that he's made an easy transition to acting. The rated-R superstar was a fan favorite, taking baby steps with his acting abilities, honoring the fine WWE tradition of doing a series of Slim Jim commercials, but has had regular television spots since 2011, including his award-winning performance in Sci-Fi's Haven. So far, in Adam Copeland's... oh, that's his real person name, by the way. Wrestlers are like drag queens or superheroes. Adam Copeland's journey through post-WWE performance hasn't set him on the big screen path of blockbuster comic book films or action thrillers, and it doesn't need to. With an impressive 25-episode arc on Vikings and a part-time return to wrestling in the last year, we're sure genre TV will always have a script for him. Triple H, wrestling's metalhead stepdad and sometimes Viking king. He has done very well for himself, leaving his mark on the Attitude Era as a member of D-Generation X, one of the most influential stables in wrestling history, and in his solo efforts as an arrogant amoral heel self-aggrandized as The Game. He is now the Executive VP of Superstar Development and Creative at WWE, so it makes sense that he doesn't have a ton of time for the acting world. In fact, he's only got one credit in film or television, but I'd be doing a big disservice by not mentioning it because it is... oh, it is good. H took his chance on an acting career in the worst-reviewed film in the Blade series, Blade Trinity. He played Jarko Grimwood, yes, I am serious, a lackey for Danica and Asher Talos, who has a pet dog, a little vampire Pomeranian named Pac-Man. Jarko spin-off when? If that's not enough chaos for you, one of the filming locations for Triple H's scenes in Blade Trinity was abandoned floating McDonald's The McBarge. Wait, you don't know about The McBarge? Listen, I've said too much. Diamond Dallas Page, often simply called DDP, is a beloved figure in pro wrestling. He was a manager for a long time, not starting his actual wrestling career until his mid-30s, and has been a huge part of giving retired pro wrestlers agency over their body and minds through DDP Yoga. If you don't like a calm woman telling you to imagine planting roots into the earth, DDP is here to tell you about the time he broke his back while you rest in various poses with the word diamond in front of them. You'll recognize him from playing himself in the 2000 cult classic Ready to Rumble, but Page has proven he's a solid casting choice in horror. His small role in The Devil's Rejects alongside Danny Trejo gets little screen time, but fans of Rob Zombie's film universe have long called for a spin-off called The Unholy 2.
You hired The Unholy 2 because you wanted the best money could buy.
It looks like all that yoga longevity is going to good use, because DDP is currently in pre-production for several projects, including a clown horror and a Bigfoot thriller. Talk about range. He came to play whatever role you give him. Today, The Miz is one of the most consistent workers in professional wrestling, his comedic timing and ability to adapt to any storyline rivaling that of The Rock or Chris Jericho, but he actually first appeared on television screens in MTV's Road Rules. They just called him Mike. After years of appearing on various Road Rules spin-offs and challenges, he took his chance at MTV's speed training wrestling camp reality show Tough Enough. He didn't win, but he got a developmental contract in the end and is the only Tough Enough alumni to win the WWE Championship. Miz first took on the film in The Marine 3. Yes, the films that began John Cena's acting career as well. He's since starred in the bizarre holiday film Santa's Little Helper and appeared on television shows like Psych and Supernatural. That's definitely a long shot, as a potential Mortal Kombat sequel isn't even in pre-production, but fans and The Miz himself are courting the role of Johnny Cage. The Miz took time to clarify that wasn't just his arrogant wrestling persona speaking. The role would truly be a dream come true. And Mortal Kombat creator Ed Boon has even tweeted his support. That's awesome. Be it slapstick comedy, serious procedural, or something in between, pro wrestlers have always proven their willingness to up the word count and get off the ropes. With The Rock extending his reach into production and both Cena and Bautista impressing critics, this is only the beginning.